Hey everybody, this is Dee from Dare and Terrell Cooperative Extension, and I'm glad you could be with us today as we make a couple of really delicious sheet pan dishes. I love sheet pan meals. They're really simple to make, simple to put together, and all you have to do is pop it in the oven until they're done. Really good for those busy nights, especially now that the kids have gone back to school or you have other things that are going on. You might want to consider trying a few sheet pan meals. So you guys should have received your bag with all of your ingredients in it, your instructions, as well as the sheet that says all of the utensils and what have you that you're going to need. So if you haven't pulled that out yet, go ahead and take just a minute to pull everything out, and you might want to sort of get things laid out like I do because we're going to be working along together. If you've not done that yet, just put me on pause for a second. Go get your things out and we're going to get ready to cook. Okay, let's get started. Now, the first thing we need to do is heat up our oven. And I've already got mine heating to 425 degrees. Then we're supposed to have a large sheet pan that we cover with foil. Well, I looked and we had foil. So when I came in a while ago, this is how much foil was left on it. So we're going to improvise a little bit today. We're going to use a little bit of olive oil, and that's okay too. We're just going to put a little bit on here and smear it around. The idea of the foil is to keep things from sticking so bad to the pan, but that's okay. This is going to work well too, and the olive oil is in the recipe anyway, so this is just going to add a little extra to it, and maybe it won't stick too bad. All right. We've got our sheet pan ready, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is mix up our marinade. Now, for you guys, I've already put some of your things together. So your dry ingredients, which would be the tarragon, oregano, salt, pepper, and paprika, you have that all in one container. But we're going to go ahead and add everything right now. First, we're going to add the olive oil, the balsamic vinegar, the tarragon, the oregano, paprika, salt, and pepper. Now you guys are pretty lucky because they're already all measured out for you, so you don't have to do much with that. We're just going to get it in here. Now I haven't forgotten the lemon. You guys should have a lemon. Make sure that you wash all of your vegetables before you start. I've already washed mine. So we're going to put in the juice of 1 lemon. Now you might want to roll it around just a little bit, sort of soften it up some. And I'm going to cut it in half. All right. Now, a lot of people have juicers. I usually don't use a juicer. So we're just going to squeeze it in. If you've seen those fancy folks on television, they do it through their fingers, and we're going to try that. But if one of them slips by, we've got a spoon. We can pull it out. So let's see what we can do. Oh, this is a nice juicy one. Wow. Do y'all see all that? I hope your lemon's as juicy as mine is. Okay, let's try the other half. And what do you know, I've actually caught some seeds in here. Okay, now I'll show you another little trick too. First, let me get rid of these seeds. Okay. Sometimes you'll get a lemon that's going to be kind of hard. So what you can do is you can kind of poke it around in here with a fork and twist it around some, and that's going to release more of the juices. So you can see we got a whole lot more just by sort of poking it around a little bit. So if you feel like your lemon is kind of hard, just use a little fork and you'll be able to get more out. All right, so that was pretty easy, and I don't even see any seeds in there. So get you a fork or whisk, and we're just going to stir all this stuff up. Uh-oh, I think I told y'all a fib. I think I just did see a seed. There you go. I got one out. All right. We've got everything together. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our other ingredients. I'm just going to slide this out of the way for just a second. All right. It says on your recipe the next thing to add is the chicken, but I've got a little bit of chopping up to do, so I'm going to sort of save the chicken until last because it kind of makes hands kind of slippery and slimy. All right, so let's add the onion. Everybody should have a red onion. Now we're going to peel this and we're going to cut it up, and your recipe says to do this into petals. All righty. So I'm just going to step over here. I've got a little trash can down here. I promise I'm not doing this in the floor. And we're going to get the skin off. Are y'all peeling with me? You're not crying yet, are you? All righty. Okay, we've got it all peeled. And so to make a petal, to be quite honest, I'm going to tell you what I perceive as a petal, and it's just going to be kind of long pieces, because to me this kind of looks like a petal. So we're going to cut this into petals, and we're going to separate it up just a little bit to go in here. If a few of the pieces stick together, it's okay. But we're just going to kind of separate it up a little bit so it can get all that good marinade on it. Oh, I got two pieces, didn't I? Y'all doing good? All right, y'all. I hope you like onions because it looks like it's got right much in it. It said to get a small, gosh, that looks like a big piece. It said to get small onions, but I'll tell you, I got the smallest ones I could find, so I hope everybody likes them. Okay, the next thing is mini bell peppers. Now, you guys have a package of these. Be sure and wash them. I cleaned the store out when I went this morning, so there was not enough for all you guys to have some and for me to have some too. So I picked up a couple of regular bell peppers, which is fine. So if you've grown some this summer or this is all you can find, this is going to be okay too. What you're going to do with these is you're going to wash them, you're going to cut them in half, get the seeds and any stems, and you're going to remove them. And so that's what I'm going to do with these peppers as well. So I know there's a lot of different ways to cut up peppers. This is just one way that I like to do, is to cut off the top, kind of go around the sides, and take all this stuff out. And then you can sort of knock out any seeds that there might be in there. All right, so I'm going to cut this kind of big because what you guys are going to be doing is just cutting these peppers in half. So they're going to be kind of good sized peppers. So while y'all are cutting yours in half, I'm going to be cutting mine into some pretty good sized strips. And we're going to call this 8 peppers. Uh-oh, I left a little bit of the inside in there. Now, I'll be honest with you, I did not count all your peppers in here. You may or may not have 8 peppers. But I think you'll be all right to go with what you have. All right, I'm off to my second one. I'm not sure if doing 2 big ones or 8 small ones are going to be faster, but we'll see. All righty, we're about to get that cleaned out. Let's cut this one in 2. Make some nice big strips on it. You know you're going to get some nice good juicy bites of pepper when you bite into this when we get our sheet pan meal cooked. All right, we got some big pieces of pepper in there. Let's see what's going to come next. All right, I'm looking. Onion, bell pepper, oh, potatoes. Potatoes. You guys should have some cute little baby potatoes like this. Alrighty. So you should have about 1 pound of them. And what it says to do is cut these in half. Now there again, I about cleaned the store out. So for myself, I also picked up a couple of bigger potatoes, and we're just going to quarter them. So take just a moment and cut your potatoes in half. Be sure you've washed them first. And then we're going to toss them in here too. Y'all, my bowl is getting super full. I wanted to use a clear bowl so you could see what I was doing, but I'm beginning to wonder if I might not need to go find me another bowl, because we haven't even got the best part, which is the chicken, in yet. Uh-oh, I cut that one kind of big. Let's third him. I think it'll be all right. Try to get them in the neighborhood of the same size so that they all kind of cook along at the same rate, because you don't want to have one or two that don't get quite as done, because then that's going to be extra crunchy. I'm not sure you're going to care for that. Okay, I bet y'all have beat me cutting your potatoes, because I've got these big ones to do. That looks like a little spot that needs to come out. And so you guys, if you don't have baby potatoes, if you can't find any, if you've already got potatoes, just use the potatoes that you have. It'll be all right, I promise. Let's cut all that up. All right, now let's see if we can stir this up a little bit before I even put the chicken in. Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm going to tilt this up a little bit. Can you see that? Now that is looking really good, and it smells super good too. Okay, let's try to put this chicken in here. That's what we've got left to do right now. Are these not some of the biggest chicken thighs you've ever seen before? Now the recipe called for skin on, so that's what I got. There's a lot of extra skin here. As a matter of fact, I may cut just a little bit of it off. Let's just chunk that. And I like to get the chicken with the bone in. It seems like the chicken with the bone in has just a little bit more flavor than the boneless. But you know what? You get what you like the best. If you don't like doing a lot of handling of chicken bones and all that kind of stuff, that's okay too. I totally understand. So I'm just cutting off a little bit of the extra skin. If you're a skin fan, feel free to leave it on. Alrighty. Now it says to stir it up in here. I'm not sure how well all this is going to stir. I may have to get my hands in here and do this. It's a good thing I'm not opposed to touching chicken, right? I'll tell you what, let's just go for it. How about that? We want to make sure that the chicken has some of all this yummy deliciousness on it too. I'm sorry, y'all, that's my rings just knocking around over here. Let's see what we can get. And I'll tell you what, when we put it on the sheet pan, I'll try to make sure if there's any left at the bottom, we'll pour that over the chicken too. All right, let's bring the sheet pan back over here so you guys can see what we're doing. And we're going to pour this out. Let's see if I can get it all on the pan without pouring it on the table up here. All right, let's spread it out a little bit. And we want to make sure that the chicken is skin side up. And we want to make sure that there's not a lot of vegetables sitting on top of it, because we want this to get nice and crispy. Can you see that? It didn't look like I stirred it up a whole lot, but you can see all the yummy spices and whatnot that's on top of it. All right, let me slide this right in front, because the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put some lemon slices on. So you guys should have another lemon. Just cut the two ends. I think I should have cut that one a little more. Cut the two ends of it off so you can see all the good lemon part on the inside. And we're just going to cut this up into slices, and then we're going to lay it over the vegetables. Again, we're not going to put it on the chicken, because we want to make sure that the chicken skin can get just as crispy as it can. Okay. All right, so let's lay a few pieces around here. See what we've got. Let's slide him over. There we go. Now everything's nice and even. Okay, so there it is. What do you think? I think it looks pretty good, and we've not even got it in the oven yet. So I'm going to take this over to the oven. We're going to put it in for about 40 minutes. Now I'm a little bit of a stickler when it comes to cooking meats. I want to make sure that they're done. So we're going to check this when it comes out to make sure that it's at least 165 degrees. So make sure if you got your thermometer, have your thermometer handy, because we're going to be using it here in just a little bit. Now let's go put this in the oven. I'm going to set this for 40 minutes. We're going to take just a quick pause so that I can come over here and clean up a little bit, and we're going to be off to the next recipe. See you in just a minute. Hey guys, thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes to get everything cleaned up from the chicken, and we're trading over places now. We're going to make a sheet pan apple crisp. There's not a whole lot of desserts that I've seen that you can make just on a sheet pan. But you know what? This one looks delicious, and with fall right around the corner, this sounds like the perfect dessert. Now, I know you can't smell this, but I can, and this chicken over here is smelling really, really good. Like I can hardly wait to try some of it. So let's go ahead and get started with this so we can slide it in, and they'll be cooking along at the same time. All right, I've already washed my apples, and I hope you've done the same thing too. And whoops, I'm about to forget something. Let's go ahead and grease our sheet pan. All right, for this one I'm choosing a little bit of a spray because I don't think I really want my apple dessert to taste like olive oil. But if you wanted to use something else, if you wanted to use butter or something like that, that would be fine too. So let's go ahead. We've got our sheet pan greased and ready to go. I've got my apples washed, and so we're going to slice these up. You should have 6 apples, and if you've got a little apple slicer like this, they're pretty handy. Let's see how well this one works. Woo! That's a juicy apple, it got me. If you don't have an apple slicer, that's okay. You can just use your knife. Nothing wrong with a good sharp knife. Just make sure that the core comes out pretty good, because we don't want a lot of core pieces that are in there. So you see I snagged one a little bit there, but for the most part it looks pretty good. So we want to take these apples and cut them up into 8 pieces. Be careful with your core. Good gracious, y'all, this one is hard. I may have to start all over on him. Woo, we got him. Okay, so it looks like I snagged some of the core that time. That's okay, it happens all the time. When we get to that piece, we're just going to cut it out. Okay, so far we're doing good. We're just going to cut that little piece out because we really don't want a whole lot of seeds and the inside stuff with it. Yep, there we go. I guess when you use them properly, it's a whole lot easier, isn't it? All right, we've got one more to go. Now see, if I was doing this at another time, I'd have already had all these things chopped up. But since we're cooking together, it's all going to take us a few minutes to get these apples. So you take your time, don't cut your fingers, and thank goodness that one worked out a whole lot better. Now I'm just throwing these over here in the bowl we're going to mix in. But if you had to stop and do something, you had to go run answer the door, or the phone rang or something like that, to keep your apples from turning brown. Ooh, there we go again. To keep your apples from turning brown, you could soak them in a little bit of water with some lemon juice, or even with a little bit of a clear soda, and it'll keep your apples from turning brown. So you can keep that in mind too as you're packing up your kids' or grandkids' lunch boxes. If you want to send them with some nice apple slices, and perhaps I should invest in a sharper apple core. You can always just soak them a little bit before you put it in their lunchbox, and when they open it up for lunch that day, everything will be nice and pretty in there, and it won't be all brown and icky. Alrighty, and one more. How y'all doing? Are you using your apple slicer any better than I am? Uh-oh, that one had one on it, but we got it. Okay, these are some nice big juicy pieces of apple here. All right, so we have all our apples in there, plus one little seed that got away from me. I'm gonna bring this back over here so you guys can see. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is sprinkle in your brown sugar, which you guys already have pre-measured out for you. Now this happens to be dark brown sugar. It's okay, you can use dark brown or light brown, whatever you happen to have on hand, as well as half of the cinnamon. Okay, let's stir that up just a little bit. It's starting to smell like fall up here already. Okay, so we're getting the coating on there. And the next thing we're going to do is add half of the flour. Let's put the flour on there. This flour is going to blend in with these juices of the apple when it's cooking, and it's going to make it nice and kind of syrupy and a little bit thicker than it would if it was just the plain apples in there. Alrighty, let's pour this on the pan and let's see what we've got. I'd say that's just about a pan full. What do you think? Okay. All right, let's get them in there and layer them out so that they're sort of just one layer thick. And we got more of this good stuff in here. We definitely do not want to miss that. So we're going to take that and sprinkle that over the top. All right, guys, this is the base for what we're starting out with. Now, I believe I'm going to move this so we're not rattling around with it so much. Okay, let's go back. Kind of looks like an icky bowl, but you know what? Everything we're going to put in it is going to go right on top of what we just did. So let's start mixing up our topping. Okay, now we are going to put the other flour, the other half of the flour in the bowl. And here comes the fun part. We're going to try to cut in some butter. It says nice cold butter. This is pretty cold, not as cold as it could be because it's been sitting out for just a few minutes. But we're going to try to cut this butter in. Now you can use 2 knives, you can use a pastry cutter, you can even use a fork. Now I'm not a real big fan of this, but I'm going to give it a try. And let's just see what we can do with it. And the idea is to blend in the flour and the butter until it starts to look like little peas. And you see how it's all collecting up there? We're going to have to stop and sort of rake it out a little bit. And we're going to try it again. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing is using my fork because that's really what I like to use the best. But I thought, why not? I've got a pastry blender. I'll give it a try. Do y'all use yours very often? Do you have one? I will admit, I have one in both my offices, but I don't have one at home because I don't use them that often. All right, so let's give this a try with a fork. I feel like I have a little bit more control with the fork. There we go. All right, we're blending that in. This is going to be sort of the base for our topping. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I kind of like the topping just as much, if not more, than I do what's underneath of it. So let's blend that in. Okay, I think we're starting to get it. It's starting to look sort of pea-shaped. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see what I'm looking? My bowl looks like it's gotten a little bit dirty, but we're sort of making this into a nice little pea shape. All right, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to turn it into a paste or anything, so we're going to go ahead and stop right now while we're ahead. All right, let's see what comes in next. All right, we're going to add the rest of our cinnamon. Smelling like fall. All right, we're going to add some oats. And there again, all your stuff is pre-measured, so you're good. Let's add the walnuts, the maple syrup. Maple syrup, y'all. Don't you love it? Okay, pumpkin pie spice. Now this calls for a ½ teaspoon, and that's what you guys have got. But I'll tell you, I love pumpkin pie spice. I would probably be tempted to put just a little extra in there. Now let's add some vanilla and our salt. Now that is just going to sort of balance everything out a little bit so that everything's not over the top sweet. All right, let's mix this up. And when we get it mixed up good, we're going to put it on top of our apples that we have over here to the side. And we're going to cook this in a preheated oven. It should be 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. Now, I know most people probably don't have two ovens at home, and it's going to be hard to cook two things at two different temperatures at the same time. But what I would suggest is to go ahead and get your chicken in, and then as it's cooking away, which ours is right now, you can be making this, and then when it gets done, go ahead and crank that temperature down to the 350 degrees, and we'll put this in, and while your chicken and all is resting, then you can pop this in the oven. Your chicken is resting. It's going to be a few minutes before you eat dinner. You guys are going to eat dinner together, and by the time it's done, then your dessert should be done. Now this is going to be really good on its own, but if you wanted to add a little something, if you wanted to add some ice cream or something like that to it, I think you'll like that too. So let's bring our apples back over here, and we're going to put our topping on it. We want to try to make sure all our apples have just a little bit of it on there. And I know that this is going to be super good. All right, how y'all doing? Putting your topping on along with me? Uh-oh, I'm wasting some of that good topping getting it on the bar. All right, we're almost there. Does it look like I got most of it done? Okay, we're going to say that we did. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to take this over to the other oven, because I'm fortunate enough here to have two ovens, and we're going to put this in and we're going to let it cook. Our chicken is still cooking right now, and our chicken should be done and shortly, and we'll pull that out and we're going to finish it off because there's a few ingredients that go on at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven, and I'll see you guys back in just a few minutes. Alrighty. Hey guys, we just pulled this out of the oven. I don't know if you can see down here, this is absolutely beautiful and it smells even better. Now let's check it real quick to make sure that it's done. Remember, we said it needs to be at least 165. I'm going to put this in to a thick part of the thigh, not touching the bone. All right, it's done. It's done. That was one of the bigger ones. That one's a little bit smaller. You always want to go for a larger piece of meat without touching the bone. So it is done. Let's finish it up. Okay, next thing we're going to do is add some parsley. You should have some parsley in your kit. I've already washed mine. You go ahead and wash yours, and we're going to cut up about 1/4 cup. You might want to cut this kind of fine, and I'm just kind of guessing over here. I do have a measuring cup, but If you like parsley, add a little extra. If you don't like parsley, you don't have to, but it does add a beautiful, beautiful color. So let's just kind of cut up a little bit of this. Let's give it a look. Okay, I might have cut up just a little extra, but that's okay. Okay, let's sprinkle the parsley on top. A little green always makes things look a lot prettier. Okay, so we've added a little bit of parsley to it. Next, we're going to add some delicious feta cheese. I don't know if you guys are a big fan of that or not. I certainly am. I love anything that's kind of Greek tasting, and this feta cheese is just the bomb. So let's get our feta on here. And then finally, we're going to add these olives. It calls for 8 Kalamata olives. And I thought this was the coolest little trick right here, that it just comes in these little individual containers. Not sure how many's in here, but we're going to call it 8. And we're just going to kind of strategically put them. It doesn't say anything about chopping them up. You could do that if you wanted to. And the reason I'm pulling them out with my fingers is there's a little bit of juice here. All right. So we have this lovely Mediterranean chicken sheet pan dinner together. So I'm not going to dig in too much, but I am going to try just one little bite to see what kind of flavors we have going on here. There's a little piece of potato and a little bit of feta. Let's see how it is. I bet it's hot. Now this is super good. I hope you and your family are going to enjoy this as much as I know me and my family are going to enjoy this. This is coming home with me for supper tonight. Okay. So here we have our main course. Our dessert is still in the oven. And as soon as that gets done in just a few minutes, we're going to pull that out too. We'll see you back in just a couple of minutes. Hey guys, we just took the apple sheet pan dessert out of the oven, and this is what it looks like. We've got all these yummy apples in here with this good topping. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's steaming away and it smells super good. So let's give it a little try here. I know it's going to be super hot. Let's get a little piece right here. All right, you know I've got to have a bite of the topping too. Excuse me if I make a face if it's too hot. Now I can't talk. Now this is really good. The topping on there is extra good. It's got all kinds of flavors in there. You know, we put the brown sugar and we had maple syrup. We even had a little touch of salt in there that kind of contrasts a little bit. This is all really, really good. You could eat it just like it is. Put a little bit of ice cream with it. Have it with whatever looks good to you. I think this would even be a yummy breakfast if you wanted to have some. It's got oatmeal in it. It'll count as breakfast, okay? It's got fruit in it. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed these two sheet pan meals that we've made. I think they go perfectly together, and they're going to work really well for the fall. So keep up with what's going on with Cooperative Extension in Dare and Terrell counties, and we'll be doing something like this again real soon. Y'all have a good fall.